Welcome everyone. Appreciate everyone joining us today for open customer presentation on industrial heat trace products, specifically with Chromalox. Moving forward, my name is Derek DeBar. I'm the field sales training manager. Today, specifically, we're gonna focus on our industrial heat tracing products. Just kind of a walk through the industrial side of things. I'm going to go through them, kind of one by one, tell you what they are, the fit, form, and function, how they kind of go together, what we offer, some of the advantages. Chromalox, using Chromalox heat tracing products could help you in your process, and we'll have an open forum for questions at the end. Again, appreciate everyone attending, and we will get started. So real fast. Because we're talking about only one product that Chromalox is manufacturing, the heat trace products, it is important to kind of just give you an overview or go back for some of you that are on the call. You may not realize maybe the history of Chromalox. We really are the original electric heater manufacturer, and that started with the original patent in 1914 with the L. Wiegand to various products, and I won't go through those today. To the tubular elements that we're all familiar with out in the marketplace, to big process systems, to even medium voltage designs, and a lot of new technology pretty much throughout the century, right, into today. Today specifically, we're going to talk about the industrial heat tracing products, but I think it's really important for everyone on the call to understand that if you're familiar with Chromalox for heat trace, fantastic. We're doing a good job. If you're not so much, it's important to remember all the other products and history that goes into our design, our process, maybe some controls that we can leverage throughout all of our product lines. So it's just important to know that, we got the history there, the technology, and a lot of other product segments that we can pull from to really provide you the best design and products for your application. So going forward, heat tracing products. I always think of these in two categories. The self-regulating cable is what we're going to focus on. We have constant wattage and MI and it's a couple other options, but on the self-regulating cable, you think of a commercial application as such a roof and gutter de-icing, which is very much us, or industrial, oil and gas, pipes, process systems, and that's what we're going to focus on with the industrial product. But I did want to bring it up as we do have both available. They're handled kind of in different market segment groups, meaning, some fall in the commercial line, or we're going to fall more on the industrial line products. But it's important to remember we have both. Just today, we're going to focus on the industrial line, and then obviously the quick install guide that you see there on the right is available to everyone. Our marketing team does a good job with the brochures and installs and all that stuff, and they're all available on our website. So moving on to products, an overview of what's available. You got the self-regulating line. You can see that there on the left. Got the low temperature, medium, high temperature designs, class 1, div 1. We'll talk about a little bit more about that in a minute. Constant wattage type cable. We call them engineered cables. Some people refer to them as zone heating. We've got a series long line, which is a little unique. MI for your higher temperature stuff. And again, as aforementioned, the commercial heat trace line, which we'll cover on other trainings as we move forward. So let's dive in. Self-regulating heating cable. Pretty simple if you think about it. It's an extruded polymer mix. We call it a carbon black mix, and that's your resistive material, the carbon black mixed with polymers. And essentially, you've got two conductors running through it, the electrical paths between them, the polymer itself with the carbon black impregnated in it is the resistor. And so now you can cut it to length, and how it works is essentially as you run the voltage, you've got the resistive between it, the polymer expands, changing its resistance, so therefore it becomes, quote, self-regulating. As it raises in temperature, its output decreases. As it lowers in temperature, its output increases. And we have some design guides and some things to consider along the way of, maximum run lengths, what breaker you're feeding it with and that type of stuff. But the core product itself is essentially this. It's just the concentrations are different based on the output and what you need for your application. Now we have different, obviously, jackets over there. There's a grounding mesh that all the products come with. We used to offer it just with the grounding mesh, which we don't no longer offer that anymore, which would be the C option. And then you'll have a protective coating, either the CR jacket or we call it a CT jacket, which is pretty industry standard for those terms. Think of it as like there's a fluoropolymer, and then a Teflon coated jacket for corrosive and higher, more industrial, corrosive applications. So that's kind of your basic model heating cable. I mentioned before the ratings. Depending on the manufacturer, you can obviously see the Chromalox line right there. It's either rated, because these heat trace in general is you're designing to offset heat losses. Specifically in the industrial, we're not talking, roof and gutter melting ice. We're talking about industrial pipes. Maybe it's freeze protection in a water pipe. Maybe you're maintaining a temperature in say a food and bev application or a process system or a chemical facility. You've got to process a product at a temperature at one location. You're moving it through piping or to the process itself, and you don't want to lose temperature. You want to make sure when it leaves the tank and gets to the process is the same temperature. So you're offsetting losses. And how do you do that? You do that with insulation, type, thickness, all of that. But at the same time, there's still some amount of loss. So therefore, the self-regulating heating cable is ideal for this because, again, it's designed to input and offset your losses to the environment. With that said, all your cable is rated at either 40 or 50 degrees, depending on the manufacturer. And the reason they do that, if I get 5 watts a foot at that 50 degrees, that's the 5 watts a foot. However, at higher temperatures, it's 2-3 watts per foot. And that's kind of illustrated here on the graph on the right. And that's inherently how self-regulating cable works. You may or may not know, we do get this question all the time at Chromalox. Oh, we bought self-regulating cable. Why is it still heating? We're at temperature, stuff like that. It's not controlled unless you buy the controllers, which we'll get to here at the end. That's how it maintains its temperature. Its output is variable of the process it's in, and hence why it works that way. So moving on, the types of cable Chromalox offers. Our standard industrial cable we call SRL. So that's just self-regulating low temperature cable. And it's important to point out to everyone on the call, and oftentimes people don't realize this, our standard cable, our standard SRL cable is already third-party certified and registered for Class 1 Div 2, which, let's be honest, is pretty much the majority of your applications out there. So you think of common areas and non-hazardous applications, that's this cable. If you think of up to Class 1 Div 2, it's still the same cable. Certifications move forward with it, you're fine. Now we do have Class 1 Div 1 available, and I'll show that in a second. But the real important thing when it comes to design and installation is now, one, what temperature am I maintaining? So you make sure you have the right output cable and temperature rating for the materials in the cable to survive and maintain at that temperature. But the other really, really important temperature to remember is the exposure temperature. Again, if this is freeze protection, no problem, no concerns. But in a process situation, again, like a chemical plant or asphalt, whatever the process is, there could be cases where you're maintaining temperature at freeze protection, or you maintain temperature at higher temperatures. And when you get into the much, much higher temperatures, it all depends on the application. And I use this as my example because we get this a lot, where somebody would say use this for freeze protection or maintaining 100 degrees, something low temperature, right? In we'll say food and bev or a dairy or some application where there's also a cleaning cycle involved or some other process exposed to the cable. And this is where the exposure temperature becomes a big issue, because you may be maintaining a lower temperature, but through some process, like I said, cleaning process or various other reasons, the exposure could be higher and that could damage the cable. So those are the two temperatures in selecting your heating cable that you should most focus on. With that said, you've got the low temperature. We also have process temperature. So, the makeup's a little bit different, and this is designed for higher temperatures. So now you can see that the temperatures for SRP is, process temperatures up to 230 F. or exposure temperatures up to 275. So, we're moving, past just general water freeze protection to processes. And then we have the SRME, which is your medium temperature applications. That would be up to exposure temperatures of 425 in the process. Moving beyond that, we'll have MI cable available. I'll talk about that in a second. But sticking with the self-regulating cables that Chromalox offers, you've got, design, output, you've got your feeding your breaker. Now you've got to put connection kits. How does this heat trace, how do you fit up the heat trace to the power distribution? And that's where the connection kits come into play. If you're familiar with Chromalox, great, in the U series, and we're gonna talk about that in a second. We have some older designs that are still available, but it's just important to understand, what we have and what's available, and what quite honestly is the difference of each. So probably going back 5-10 years ago, Chromalox moved to what we call our U series connection kits. Now we use the U stands for universal, and the universal is universal certifications. So, you got the UL, the CSA, the FM. So for different, country locations, different third party, this matches all of those. They've got a terminal block on the inside. It snaps in, DIN rail mounted, real easy to wire and do. Even some of our competitors have something similar. Our connection lights, as you see there in the picture, in-seal lights are LED, really durable, all designed. You can get them in different colors if you need. But here is something I want to point out to everyone, and if there's something you take with you today, if you install heat trace, or if you know anything about heat trace, this is the thing that is really nice when going to install these. Some people, reference, we can go into the quality and design of cable later. But if you're one of those folks out there that thinks cable's cable, that's fine. But here's one of those design advantages to a Chromalox connection kit that you may want to take with you. And so a lot of different ways to terminate cable, but ours have basically the secondary piece here, this little threaded connection, and a gasket or little rubber grommet. I'm sorry, that the cable just simply slides through. You can use wire wax or whatever to make it move smoother. Don't really need that. And what this makes it so nice to other connection kits and other manufacturers out there. Some have some lids that don't necessarily connect well. They don't have the encapsulated screws. Some of them are whole threaded lids, which aren't always easy to thread. Ours goes, up through the connection area here into the grommet. And then this piece here seals and locks in the grommet around the cable, holds the cable in place. It's completely watertight. And oh, by the way, because it's got some flexibility and all that, there's no weep hole to worry about moisture buildup. None of those things are required, and it completely seals off the box. This is really handy and nice if you are familiar with heat trace and you have a lot of experience with it. It makes it real smooth, easy, and adjustable on site to work with. So it's kind of a really handy design that is unique to Chromalox that I'd like to illustrate to everyone. And speaking of which too, and I want to point this out because I see it all the time, we're responsible for the cable and the connection kits, but the installer and everybody that goes to put these into place, you want to have service loops where, like I just mentioned, you might come up short somewhere. Maybe you have a bad termination and you got to pull some more cable. That's all part of good install that we'll talk about in a second. But also, the electrical side of this thing, it's important to remember this is heating cable. You want some kind of conduit drain. We have seen some cases where even though that grommet that I mentioned seals the box and has a really good install, we never think of the power connection side of this. And we've had, several, field issues where somebody comes in and it's been filled with water. All feeding back from some other installation. So it's not necessarily the cable or the box issue as much as the overall install. So we have a lot of ISOs and examples of this in our install literature, and you're welcome to all of that. Your contractor should know how to install it properly, and we like to provide the literature and training. We're going to offer training to contractors, and I'll talk about that at the end, to ensure that it's installed properly and you get a long life out of the product, especially in critical applications. Moving on. Some of you may or may not remember or have these installed. These are our older kits, or older connection kits, and they're good. You know, they're a little bit different. They're much lower profile. Maybe, you know, not so much encapsulated gaskets and screws, but I do want to point out they are still available. They're out there. People use them all the time. If you come across them, you know, don't feel like that. Oh, that's not a Chromalox product. It certainly is, and it all fits together the same and all the same third parties. Of course, we have the we'll say less costly connection kits. You know, with the little end caps and the RTV and the general design and regular junction box. That is of course available as well. A little less industrial. But moving to more industrial, I mentioned before we do have Class 1 Div 1 products available for installation. Again, you're not going to come across it too often, but it's important to know that it's there. Maybe you're close to a wellhead, or there's a gas present or something, and you need that certification. And it's pretty much like the standard product that we offer, only we now have the Division 1 hazardous rating on it. The maintenance temperatures and exposure temperatures are the same, but the stamping and the third party, it is important to remember that we want to, you got to have the right product to meet the area classification. So, the low temperatures is the same. We have the medium temperature, just like the cable before. But the real difference here is it's not so much the cable, it's the connection kits. So these kits need to be certified for the Class 1 Div 1 area. Now, if you're familiar with industry, these connection kits should be no surprise to you. You've got the packing material, the isolation connection. Those thread in, they put them in. It's pretty much the standard throughout the industry on how this goes, and we offer them as well. They match up to our cable, all fine and good. From there, moving on, we have we do have constant wattage cable available. We've always had constant wattage available, and this is exactly what you would think it is. It's constant wattage. Basically, and without, I guess, having a larger picture of this, you've got the two conductors, much like you have with the self-regulating cable, but now they actually wrap it with a nichrome wire. You can see it there, similar to our industrial heaters. And then they nick the insulation between each conductor, and now you've created heating zones. And those heating zones are constant. So at 100 degrees or 300 degrees, it's the same output, and the standard ratings are 4, 8, and 12. You can get up to 480 volt with constant wattage. The self-regulating cable is limited to 277. So that is available, not as common as, say, it used to be 10, 20 years ago, but there's still applications where this makes a whole lot of sense. One of which applications is, burial. Direct burial, you put it in conduit. This would be like a freeze protection application. If you're putting you'll have a frosty where you can, break up the concrete and stuff like that. Constant wattage is very common in that. For thermal input, there's a lot of heat dissipation. You can still use self-regulating for that application, and then there's various lab reasons and other design criteria that you would want to go with constant wattage. Now, going along with the engineered cables, we also have we call it series long line cable still available, and it's essentially what it's conducted. It's you've got the two conductors again, but now this middle piece is no longer the resistor as much as it's now the insulator, and you're basically going with voltage drop over distance. Now you can get distances up much longer in a single circuit. Now it's kind of specific to the type of application you want to do. It's not, you're not going to have a lot of branch lines and facilities. This is more for terminals. One straight long line. We can do one circuit up to 7,500 feet at one circuit, and that's when you would fall into some kind of design with something like this. And if you contact the Chromalox, sales representative, myself, or anybody in our industrial heat tracing group, they can obviously walk you through that and show you how to take advantage of that product. Tube bundle. A lot of people don't realize we have tube bundle. Tube bundles, pre-insulated bundle cables. We put our electrical heat tracing in that for the heating mechanism. You can get them 1, 2, 3, 4 tubes at a time. And this is really nice for if you have a manufacturing facility and you don't have to go through and you know, put the pipe, put the heat trace, put the insulation, all those things. It just comes in a tube bundle, start to finish, and then you'll have connection kits and stuff like that. And that is available from Chromalox, and a lot of people don't realize. Moving on to mineral insulated cable. Of course, we have a full line of this as well. These are for your higher process temperatures, your higher applications. It's a constant wattage cable. Not unlike our tubular elements, only you can get these obviously significantly longer. You get your ink alloy, your stainless for corrosion. You know, we'll go through a whole design criteria of MI cable, but the typical applications are, you know, you think of a HRSG on a plant. A lot of times they use them for vents and gates and things. There's just a lot of unique applications that you can use MI cable for. And we have that available in any voltage, wattage that goes up to division 1 in design. And you can kind of get an idea of the applications, which we will have trainings for later when we specifically, we'll spend a whole hour on nothing but MI design, installation, selection, all that good stuff. And that's things to come. Today's obviously an introduction. You can see there's a screen I mentioned. There's a whole you know, there's a whole methodology behind good installation in any of our heat tracing products, and we cover that. We actually have some examples of troubleshooting and stuff like that. Anyone is welcome to. I'll show you the link at the end, and we're going to offer those out to everyone as well. So moving on. Control. I mentioned control at the very beginning. You know, if you got your cable selected, you got your install, but let's more importantly, how do we turn it on? How do we turn it off? How do we make sure we're maintaining the right temperature in a good design? So we got a lot of different options for everyone. We got some that you'll recognize our competitors have, and we have some that are, you know, a little different, a little more advanced, and have a lot of value in them, and we'll walk through that. So kind of a good, better, best approach. You know, control is control. If you want to go with a thermostat, on-off control, you're not really looking for something too accurate. You just want to make sure that it's monitored. You know, we have thermostat connection kits that are part of our kit, as you see here on the left. So you can get a power connection kit and control all in the same box. There's, you know, some standard industry offerings, and we're no different for just thermostats. And if you buy just a separate thermostat, you're still going to need a connection kit. For the cable termination and the power. You're just now not putting it in line and in the same box or enclosure. You're now, you know, adding pieces and parts, which is fine. We have those available. And then you have, you know, your sensor types and mostly RTDs. When we're talking the heat trace world, you can get thermocouples, but it all depends how you're controlling it and how the control signal is in our controllers. But RTDs are the most standard. And you've got, you know, surface mount, aerial mount, and we'll talk about those a little bit more in a minute. But you've got, and then it's how you control. Like, so when you start to lay out your heat tracing system, you may want to do it by environment. You know, if it's freeze protection, most commonly, if it drops below some temperature, we turn on all heat trace. Or you can control it line by line, which would be a line sensing, so where you actually need it, right underneath the insulation. And that's all decided as you walk through what is available to decide what's best for you, what's best for your application. And then, you know, back to the sensing side, you've got line sensing where, you know, there's an actual plate at the end of it that you can spread over the pipe or the place you want to put it. You can, you know, mount them in the air, you can mount them, you know, wherever you need. And then we have ambient sensing ones. These are really nice because, you know, they got the protection over the sensor. They can thread right into your control box. Really handy, standard stuff out of the catalog. So thermostats without a power connection kit. I kind of gave you the overview of that. These are the standard ones that we have available. You know, NEMA 4 is the common design. You can see them there with the plastic boxes. We can get, you know, NEMA 7, NEMA 9, explosion-proof areas. You know, standard ones out of the catalog. The takeaway from these, and there's no real advantage to these over anyone else's offering. 22 amps is the key to this because it's NEC code. It's what the holding coil in the thermostat can switch. Get anything higher than that? Well, one, you're probably not designing a circuit much higher than that to begin with. But if you are, then that's when you look at a power distribution or something like that, and then we move it to a larger design. Same thermostat or same principle behind it. We offer that in our connection kits. Here's the old DL kits with you can see the line sensing here. So that would be, under the insulation, right at, where the rubber meets the road. Or you'd have an ambient sensing, just, hey, when it, reaches a certain temperature in the plant, the facility, the environment, you want it to kick on. These are Class 1 Div 2 certified and approved. So that is really nice. It's more common than not that you can get away with just a bulb and capillary thermostat control. We obviously make these in our U series as well. So if you want, a little higher profile, thin rail mounted connections inside the terminal housing and that nice little grommet to seal the cable, these are available. And then your sensors, I've mentioned them several times, so I don't really feel like we need to run through that, but you've got the guide, they meet all the area classifications, and you select those as you would need for your application. Here's the really unique one that we offer that would like to talk a little bit about. Same principle, you've got control at the point of power connection of the cable, but now it's not a thermostat. It's not a on off. It's not a thermostat running the power selection. It's a solid state relay, so an SSR, right? And what we did is we packaged the solid state relay in the power connection kit. And if you were to spin this thing around, you'll see the heat sink on the back. This is Class 1 Div 2 standard, completely certified. And it's really nice because some of these, electronic controllers, this one has actual temperature indication through the box. And you can see it there, kind of illustrated right there. It comes in one package. We get a lot of people, once they see this is perfect, because you buy the cable on the roll. This is your connection kit. You got an in-seal, you're all set. It's all the pieces and parts in one spot. You get the advantage of having the grommet and all that. You land you land your cable, you land your power on the side, and it's a 30 amp solid state relay. What that means is, so it has logic already programmed in it. It's standard, and it actually pulses the cable on. And what that does, it's really nice, because as it pulses the cable on, you have no inrush current. I didn't get much into that in detail, but when you're going and designing systems, this means you can have longer run lengths. There's less concern of a cold start and tripping the breaker. It will help in either, we get a lot of people in installations that are already at maximum circuit lengths and they're having problems. They'll come in and retrofit their system with these. If we're able to design it before you install it, of course, we'd always like to utilize the best. The cost point of these things are fantastic. They're actually designed to sell. And that's that advantage that comes with just the all-in-one power connection kit and control, all in the same box, all in the same product. You're still buying a connection kit. You might as well get the control with it. And you have that solid state relay, which, it's not technically a soft start, but it kind of acts as one because of how it pulses on the cable and helps eliminate the inrush to the circuit. Really great product. If there's something that you remember besides the way that the grommet goes together, this has just been a fantastic advantage in the field and to your installation to make things run smoother, and you can get them with communications and all kinds of good stuff. And also you can do them with the MI cable. There's a little connection kit. We can have them tank mounted. That is an option. We have a kind of a bolt-on for MI installations. It's just a really great product, and how a lot of our stuff is migrating to as we evolve as a heat trace company. So even though it's in the better category, I put that as a best, but you can see how it fits into the other categories. So getting into we'll say the better side of things, we do have standard package control boxes, 1 and 2 circuit designs. These are really nice for your smaller installations. It has an HMI on the front, as you can see, obviously by the screen. It has current monitoring built in. It has a real great price point per loop. And again, this is standard product, catalog product. We're not doing anything special design. We don't need to. and it gives you all of the flexibility of specific control, temperature, set point, ramp up, all that available in one nice, nice little package box. You can get communication, Ethernet. We have IoT. There's even a card to put into your backnet. As we move forward, and even think commercial and industrial, this is kind of where things are migrating to. This is where your heat trace can, your installation, you get to a more optimal design. And those are available. They're 40 amp circuits, SSR control. Just a real small package. You can, if depending on your location, your site, your install, this is where your programming, your lockouts, all that stuff can be taken care of in a pre-packaged unit. Now, if maybe all of those options, controls, circuit monitoring, and all that stuff is not maybe what you need, maybe it's a freeze protection application, maybe it's a larger install. We also have what we call the FPAS, FPLS. You'll notice AS and LS used a lot in our literature. That's simply ambient sensing or line sensing. So what that's saying is, if we're sensing ambient, we probably need one sensor, right? If we're sensing lines and multiple circuits in the lines, we need multiple sensors, and the inputs are designed to match. In these, we call them our weather trace product line. We have the basic design, as you may notice, no bells and whistles here, right? It's wired, it's done. You have a light to tell you if the cable's on or not. So, going back to basics, is available. We also have a Z purge available for this one too, which is nice. And in the same design, if you're moving up in circuits, up to 24 in one panel, we have this is a fairly newer version of an older unit that used to just have lights. Now we have a little bit of an HMI display and walkthrough between the circuits. Again, minimal control. You're just turning on a line, or ambient sensing, you're turning on all your heat trace. But this is off the shelf type product, NEMA 4. Good for a majority of your installations if you're not needing real tight control. If you are needing tight control, think of that first ITLS, the 1 and 2 loop designs with that interface, going to our best control. And that would be our ITAS and ITLS, which essentially is the same thing as that small little package from before. The interface is almost identical, only now it's designed and done in 6 circuit banks. The screen itself runs off 6, you can see 6 circuits at a time, and you can, tab right and left. And then now, we're just expanding on that, right? We still have the current monitoring, but also now we can come with, they call them extension panels, and you can actually, basically built on to up to 72 loops in a panel. So you think of a larger installation, a facility or whatever, and you need up to 72 loops. That's in one package. It's not to say you can't go above that. It just means now we need another panel, right? But these are just, it's simplistic product offering and design for your industrial, process system that meets all the demand, all the requirements, that you would need in a design straight out of the catalog. It's not designed from scratch or anything. This meets all your third parties, your area classifications. You got the soft start feature, full communications, all in one, easy to understand interface and box. Expand on them. And just recently we got CSA shop approval. That will be it comes from our Tennessee facility. So that's even one more third party certification on top of the UL, CE, FM part of that. Now, that's cable, that's connections, that's controls. Sometimes, power feed's an issue and we need transformers and we need, that. We do pre-designed transformer skids for your heat trace installations. And I want to point that out because you won't find it in our literature. Basically, it's you can see where our panel bolts on, and it makes a nice little skid package to fit into your system. Taking it a step further, after you've got everything installed and you've got the layouts, and please work with a Chromalox representative in your area. You can go to our website and Google that, or contact me, and we'll send you the right person. You've got your install, you've got it done, you've got your optimal design. Now you got to worry about control. Now you can control locally, or you can control through interface, through several options of Ethernet. We have wireless controls, and no No mystery there. It's the wireless heart sensors. We have that as an install. We can use that to integrate. Maybe you already got an install in the or in the you're not able to run wire for controls and all that stuff. That is an option that we can certainly offer to you. If you are doing a larger installation, even another bolt-on product, mentioning all the things that we can pull from. If you're feeding in, 72 sensors and all that stuff, we have these nice little panel boards that, integrate up to 252 sensor inputs back to your control circuit, your panel, your DCS, however you want to do that. Again, off the shelf item. And then as we get to the IoT of things, right, the Internet of Things, we've got these, they call it Proto Air, basically bolt on into our standard industrial or heat trace packages. And then, now it's cloud-based. You can monitor it from anywhere, your laptop, different country, whatever it is. And you can now integrate even more than just your heat trace, but oh, by the way, all the other products that Chromalox offers in a nice, easy controlled package, real easy to map the signals and all that from there. Some of you on the call maybe designers, maybe, how do I put these into my design package? You think of building and construction and how you put things together. I know we've worked as a company really hard in the last 2 to 3 years of getting BIM objects on everything. So if you do use, I think it's called Revit, to do your design software or whatever, you can actually pick and select our products and with it, pull all the documentation that comes with it for the contractor, the installer, whoever's bidding, to help you design your process as well. And speaking of design, we have design software for layout. Again, as I'm offering, contact your local Chromalox representative. You can do it yourself, or you can walk through it with them. We have it's called Chromatrace. You can go to our website. You just click download, pull it down on your computer. If you have trouble with that, sometimes it gets blocked by your company's firewall or something like that. That can happen. Just contact us. Contact me. We'll send you the file. You'll be all set. It's nice because it does the design. It pulls the products, the pieces, the parts. You can build a bill of material really easy. But also, if you're in the middle of optimizing or maybe the design's not set yet, you can easily go back in and you got the same file. You can change this, move that, and it's really great to do that. And if you want to see how that works, anybody on the call is welcome. You can go to YouTube. It's on our front-facing page. There's a complete tutorial how to walk through start to finish, how to use the Chromatrace program. And taking it a step further, right, we tried this not too long ago where we started walking through applications, and we'll do more of that going forward. That's actually the plan. We did a troubleshooting on heat trace, a good install, bad install, what went wrong here. That's available to anyone. It's good to listen to, just to give you an idea if you are about to walk into a heat trace installation or have some experience or want to maybe touch up on how the proper way to install heat trace. This is a good refresher starter training that we had recently, but more important than that, we recognize the need for that. And so as we move forward as Chromalox into heat tracing, we're also now going to offer a contractor trained program. So basically, you think factory trained, you'll get a card, a certification that you went through the program, and it'll be in 2 stages. It's really close to being offered. We'll have signups. It'll be available free at first. I would assume it might turn into a case where there might be travel. Right now, we were originally going to do like schools where you travel there and go through the design, and we do all the hands-on stuff. And then, of course, the state of things in 2020, we moved to a virtual environment, and we're ready to go live with the virtual part of it. We'd still like to, obviously, nothing substitutes, getting your hands dirty and splicing and doing all that stuff. We still want to do that. It's just not till things start to lighten up and travel and all that stuff. But the program is available, and I wanted to point it out to everyone. We're going to start actually walking through the program in months coming up, and you're welcome to that information. We go through things that you wouldn't maybe even consider in the design or the installation. You think, well, I need splicing tools, and I need I need electrician, whatever. But you also have to think so in the 101, you're going to learn, receipt and storage. there's a procedure for that. You want to make sure that, quite frankly, it's there to protect you. You want to make sure nothing happened from the quality procedure at the factory to when it's on site. Maybe it wasn't stored properly. Maybe something happened in shipping. How to, measure the cable, how to make sure that the cable is still good, doing the testing, the handling, the storage. A lot of training on pre-installation. Everyone on the call should probably have experience or know that nothing's as simple as it looks like on paper. There's prep work that needs to fall to prior to any kind of build, install, or whatever. Learn how to walk through where these things are going to go, and help you stage your installation to save you time, save you cost, and make sure that it's done well. We're going to dive into videos of production and how it's made, and talk about good adhesion on the conductors, so you truly understand the cable if you're interested and want to know how that works. And then tips and tricks, things that we've learned. There's about 5 or 6 different, well, I take it back. There's dozens of ways to splice cable, but there's probably only a handful that are considered decent. And we'll walk through those and the advantages of doing it one way over the other, put together. And then there's going to be a 201 also available to anyone who wants to get into the logic behind control, optimizing your design, and just even integrating it with other products that Chromalox offers to give you the full package. So wanted to share that with everyone. Look for that in the coming months to be available. It'll be available pretty much on the platform you're on right now, and available to schedule a time to walk through this, have the certification and design with Chromalox and provide from there. So a lot of verbiage for just going through a bunch of products, but that's fine. I wanted to introduce everyone to what is available for industrial heat trace from Chromalox now, what you can look at, maybe some advantages, some things to watch for when you're doing your own design. Obviously, reach out to us as you see fit, or you need our support. And thank you all for joining us. We'll open it up for questions.